Welcome back YouTubers to my channel for an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you with open arms. I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness, versus sharing my life stories and experiences with especially the syndrome and everything that comes in the territory, alongside with basically giving you tips and advice along the way on how you can manage and cope with your everyday struggles, of regardless what it may be it your chronic illnesses or mental illnesses or what have you. I'm hoping to be your girl, as well as also along the way I do some like inspirational messages of hope, or whatever you want to call them, to uplift you all, support you all as much as I can. Also along the way, also if you've been following me, I'm trying to do some fun stuff, be it tags and everything else, regardless what it may be, so that hopefully along these ways, regardless what it may be, that we can have fun along the way, as well as learning about each other, give and take, regardless of who and what we are, and hopefully that we can not prejudge and whatever it may be, because as I said, I'm hoping for this channel to be as user friendly as possible, and hopefully we can just grow and learn from each other as we grow this channel together and getting to know each other as a person as a whole. So enough further ado, guys, basically I've been doing some more mental health sort of stuff before. Hopefully whatever's left of them we as of next year 2017, as well as also in 2017 I'm hoping to do some more motivational messages for you all, as well as maybe, I don't know, some more challenges, tags, whatever it may be that I can think of that will be of use to you to entertain you all. But we'll also have to see what 2017 has to bring, because it's obviously at this stage all about change and whatever else. So this one's all about, obviously if you've been following me, the misconceptions and about PMS and PMDD. Obviously, just to put a disclaimer before I continue on, is that I'm no medical doctor. I'm just a normal everyday Joe blogs carrying on doing what I have to do for myself to manage and cope with my everyday symptoms. If you see any of the signs and symptoms, however, with the mental health series of what I share out, basically, if it's for yourself or for your loved one, seek professional help, or seek an opinion if need be for more advice. Also, just to put it out there that I don't forever condone anyone to do self-harm. So, and further ado, guys, basically this one's all about PMS and PMDD of the misconceptions. Let's begin this. So, as I said before, though, in the very first one, however, basically that there will always be some stigma, stereotyping, or bad stigma, shall we say, based on the mental illnesses around us, regardless of the types they are, and the misunderstandings and misconceptions of it all, obviously. And with these misunderstandings and misgivings of us not knowing and understanding right about of it all, can often lead to negative implications or negative impact on certain other people's lives that are actually going through it all. And sometimes through society and everything else, people may prejudge them and whatever it is. So, whatever it may be, I'm here today as always to try and debunk all these myths and misconceptions along the way of all these, conditions, regardless of what I can think of right now. So when people go through PMDD, especially females, obviously, because obviously it's noted that it's a female kind of disorder, that it's not being accepted by mental health, of the mental health community as such, I should say. The reason being because obviously people don't really believe that PMDD, like many other mental health disorders, do exist, because obviously as we know, with all these mental health disorders or mental health illnesses and all that comes around, basically they do exist, they are real, obviously, and obviously you may not see people struggling from the outside in or what have you, but then again, if you knew the warning signs and symptoms as mentioned earlier, basically, of whatever it may be, that maybe you can be able to assist them in this way you can, however. But then again, a lot of people, however, may tend to just think of it as PMS and the misconceptions of women being moody, over emotional or whatever it may be, or hormonal. But the reality of it all, it's not, and it is extremely, really unbearable for some of the females that lives with this condition, and more like I shared with you all. But it's all in the matter of the mind on how we go about it. But women can get to the point where they are, or can be, obviously, in this condition and some other mental health illnesses that I've shared with you all, can become suicidal, maybe, So their hormones are all obviously going all over the place 90 mile a minute. You know, 1 minute they're happy, 1 minute they're sad, 1 minute they're, you know, being all patient with you, and then the next minute they're, you know, moody just by the snap of the fingers. Despite it all, basically, regardless of what all of the hormones going all out of balance and all that, being that chemically imbalanced and going stir crazy, they will then come to a state or stage in their mental health or mental illness that, you know, they could be depressed and stuff. Like many of the, you know, mental illnesses, that's the main coexisting third factor, that it could be something to do with that they're depressed or whatever it may be, but it's not always the case. But then again, it's all about knowing, again, the signs and symptoms, however it may be. PMD obviously is a form of a mental illness, regardless what people may think. Even though I believe that even though not many people may get this, though, due to the lack of awareness and understanding and knowledge of PMDD, there needs to be more people out there that's willing enough to actually learn about it. As I said, knowing about how it affects women, you know, how it, not just how it affects women as such, but knowing the signs and symptoms and how to go about it, regardless what it may be. So, some more myths here just to bear in mind though for the PMD and PMS, just to clarify to you all, is, okay, bringing it down to you, is myth number 1: all women have PMS. Okay, obviously when we know when our period is due, it's easy to attribute any of the symptoms that who may experience PMS. Okay, but dealing with the premenstrual symptoms doesn't necessarily mean that they are suffering from that premenstrual syndrome. From a medical perspective or point of view, premenstrual symptoms of low to moderate intensity doesn't impact a person's life, basically, or aren't actually considered PMS. Myth number 2: the premenstrual strains means bad moods. Again, as I said before in my piece of it all, you know, hormones, obviously, of our progesterone, estrogen, and the like, obviously do play a major role in our menstrual cycle for us female. However, they aren't only the reason for these bad premenstrual moods. Because of the old wives' tales that we may have heard about, we do tend to associate PMS with mood swings. But in the science realm, however, actually supports the notion or the thought patterns that premenstrual experiences ain't always negative for everyone. Okay, but obviously, in a case study that has been carried out by a doctor by the name of Sarah Romans from the University of Glasgow, has found in the results that many studies supporting the connection of PMS and bad moods only offer negative options to choose from when they're asking the participants about emotional state, meaning positivity wasn't accounted for. And many of the times, matter of factly, physical and emotional health has a greater impact on the mood than your actual general health or the menstrual cycle for us females. Myth number 3: you must have PMS because of your mood swings and tummy aches. Let's be fair and honest here. To be fair, we are our own unique compass. We are our own unique being, regardless what it may be. We know better than anyone when something's not quite right for our body. Obviously, because obviously we know what's right. We know the warning signs, symptoms, or we know what's about to happen with our bodies if we listen to our body enough to know the cues of what's going on inside our body. As I said before, sometimes people will suffer some chronic illnesses from the inside out that won't show those classic signs and symptoms. But however, if you suffer from physical and behavioural emotional changes, however, and the pre-period start of your cycle, it's negatively impacting your life, then you could be suffering from PMS. Okay, as I said before, basically there are so many symptoms, which is over 150, and has been attributed to PMS, but at least one symptom needs to be classified as severe for it to fit the PMS diagnosis. And it needs to occur within the luteal phase, which is your second half of your cycle, premenstrual period cycle, and a few days into your period. Okay, obviously I'm going to mention more about that luteal phase in one of the videos, so bear me with that. But for now, also, myth number 3, just got to remember though, you need to really consider whether these symptoms are severe enough to actually, not that you can't go about your daily life today lifestyle. Okay, but there are, however, some now apps on your mobile devices and whatnot that can actually help you to determine, you know, clear over time if the symptoms may fall under this umbrella of PMS or not. But then again, as some people may feel, it's important not to try and self-diagnose, just to go see your GP straight away instead of trying to assume that it's there and whatnot. Another food for thought also basically of dispelling these myths of PMS. There's a few more that I want to address to you all. Hopefully it doesn't sound repetitive, but I humbly apologize. You know, sometimes we know that, you know, some of the sitcoms we watch may be a gag for it, or sometimes we may hear a frequent running joke with stand-up comedians about PMS and some other mental health disorders, however, and sometimes it's usually generally associated with women running to the corner, crying out like no tomorrow, going insane, crazy, whatever you want to label us as, when in actual fact is basically there is something going on in our body. However, to bear in mind though, the facts and information about PMS can be or are more likely to be a lot more complicated than it looks, and obviously this will involve some scientific arguments of certain kinds, figuring of the severity of it all, worries about the primary and secondary symptoms of this. Like many other mental health disorders, there may be some, you know, primary and secondary symptoms, regardless what it may be. Even with these theories about dosing yourself with saffron, it's not a simple world out there for the, you know, sufferers that suffers this kind of, you know, mental health of the, you know, or shall I say mental illness of PMS. But however, everybody's obviously has got an opinion or uptake about it all, and many of them are backed up by the myths about what PMS actually is, like many other mental health disorders. Okay, I'm just going to quickly, before I share the myths, just share you the basis of PMS again as an overview. As you know, PMS is not abbreviated down to as premenstrual syndrome, okay, which is supposed to occur in some women in about the time of their menstrual cycle immediately before the period. However, the menstrual cycle, which averages at about 28 days, isn't just a period off and then a period on. It's a constant series of stages in which the body will prepare itself for ovulation, fertilization, and the like. And then when it ovulates, and then it has the chance to, you know, have a period, if it does, basically, to rid itself of the lining of the uterus. Okay. The point here, just to make before the period, is the vulnerable point for PMS sufferers who are associated with a variety of physical and mental symptoms, as mentioned in one of my videos. So I recommend for you guys to watch that. That can make their lives more difficult. So what can you really believe about PMS, and what's really the actual truth out there? It may be more complex than you'd ever anticipated and ever imagined, though, however. But let's just join together right now to dispel some more of these, you know, really false assumptions about premenstrual syndrome, as well as us of the human body. Myth number one: it affects all women every month. And as a matter of fact, if you've never experienced anything untoward in relation to your period, don't forever worry. PMS isn't actually seen as a universal problem among both physicians or doctors, though the social media outlets report it just like that. Though, however, actually an agreement on how far it's actually spread depends on the beliefs about who defines it and what defines it, and that can be tricky. But the General Women's Health said in 2011 that 20% of all women suffer it badly enough to find medical attention. Obviously, while WebMD puts it at a more conservative 8 to 20% at the moderate to severe symptom level, and a French study in 2009 showed that it's not static either. 72% of the women surveyed over a year fluctuated in how severe they reported their symptoms to be. Number two, there's universal agreement about its existence. Surprisingly enough, science doesn't really agree upon whether premenstrual syndrome is a thing or not. Okay, many different voices put together different ideas, conceptions, theories, and the like about what's actually happening inside the woman's body, where the idea of the PMS came from. So, however, it's not something that can be bundled up or bandaged up as a complete medical certainty, however. Obviously, in 2012, a study from New Zealand and Canada alone garnered a lot of attention for surveying many different studies around PMS and finding radically different symptoms and answers all of them. Does this mean PMS didn't exist? Was it all made up? Was it false hope? Some researchers think so, but they worry that it's part of the medicalization of women's moods and introduces old ideas about female irrationality and over-emotionality. But looking at the survey closely reveals that many of the studies were tiny, both in scope and in length. Some featured only 10 participants and many only looked at one menstrual period, however, plus it only looked into the mood swings, which, as we all see, aren't the components of the PMS. It's the same if cultural belief in PMS plays a big role in how we see our moods in the 5 to 11 days before our period, but science also hasn't debunked the phenomenon either. Obviously, you know, we've got to remember though, like, despite science also hasn't debunked the phenomenon either, Professor Catherine Clancy, a professor of anthropology, pointed this out when discussing the study with Time magazine that different cultures actually demonstrate different, premenstrual symptoms. Number 3, it's the same as your period. This is a pretty simple but weirdly pervasive myth. However, despite the pre-bit in the PMS name, some people seem to confuse it with the state of actually experiencing period, when actually it refers to the time beforehand. Yes, actually bleeding from your bits and pieces may make you feel cranky, bloated, whatever it may be, but that's not the time period premenstrual syndrome is addressing. Number 4, it doesn't have more complicated forms. This is one of the most massive myths around about PMS, however, that it's only one size fits all shoe category, and it doesn't get worse. In reality, there's a phenomenon called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD, as I've shared with you all with the video, that causes such massive effects in the premenstrual period that it seems as related to depressive disorders. Essentially, it produces a huge depressive episode in the premenstrual period, every month on the dot. However, depressive sufferers and those with family histories of depression are more likely to have it, and is thought to be suffered by around 2 to 10% of all women with periods, but it's not always well understood or widely acknowledged at all, despite its crippling effects. Number 5, only refers to hormonal mood swings. The interesting fact about PMS, hormonal fluctuations can't be pinned down as the key source of mood swings. But frankly, that's only one of the panoply of different symptoms that are part of PMS's ability to annoy and irritate. Hormone fluctuation in the menstruation period isn't abnormal. The body's hormones are very carefully calibrated. By one theory is that hormone metabolites in the brains of someone respond strangely to hormone shifting, causing possible mood differences. We don't actually really know the case, however. In the grand scheme of things, though, however, PMS is a lot more than just crankiness. It encompasses a lot of symptoms that are physical, from joint pains, sensitivity, as well in the joints, tender breasts, to sleep troubles and headaches. Some researchers think the mood swings of PMS are actually secondary to these psychological effects, not actually something sitting in the brain, or shifting in the brain, shall I say. Being bloated may make us anxious, sensitive, nipples and aches and pains may make us irritated and moody, and so on and so forth. What could look like a primary symptom may be just a coincidence or consequence. Number 6, only happens in humans. This is really an interesting fact, or an interesting one. We're not the only species to actually experience shifts in our brain or behaviour leading up to the periods of ours. Professor Robert Reed, a specialist in clinical endocrinology, reported that zoologists have noted premenstrual changes in behaviour and appetite similar to those reported by women with PMS. Female rhesus monkeys were found to be more aggressive in premenstrual days, while baboons changed how they ate and how often. We don't know enough about PMS and other animals to make any big conclusions about this, however, but it seems that premenstrual shifts aren't only our problem. 7, nothing can be done about it. Actually, a lot of science has been devoted to possibly mitigating the symptoms of PMS to help sufferers get through the annoying physical and mental symptoms of the cycle. A study in 2000, however, did show that SSRI antidepressants might be helpful for people suffering from PMDD and possibly women with less severe PMS symptoms. And it's not alone. Vitamin B6 was touted as a potential help in 1999, while saffron was suggested to reduce severe symptoms. In July 2015, even our eating habits have been targeted. British Journal of Nutrition published a study in 2015 of December that seemed to indicate that Western dietary patterns contribute to PMS symptoms. In 2003, an article in American Family Physician offered a range of aids for symptoms, from the mild help of supplements of evening primrosol to more tangled targeted symptom relief like diuretics. Interestingly enough, though, the historical treatment for PMS, the hormone progesterone, has been shown in studies to do nothing whatever for PMS sufferers. It looks like the story is a lot more complicated than irrational ladies and disordered hormones. Basically, this ends quickly of the misconceptions of basically PMS and PMDD and the like. Give me the like for thumbs up for support. Comment below if I missed out anything, or just feel like me you will have to actually share with me about your guys' misconceptions about it. Feel free to share these videos around to family and friends. Feel free to, follow me on my social media sites, AspieAnswersAll, Facebook, Twitter. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so for weekly, daily updates. Feel free to also basically open the forum if you want to for these misconceptions and this sort of thing. Like I said, I'm open to discussion for this and more, obviously, that is related to these topics that I share. So enough with it, guys. Thanks for support. Thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Aspie signing out. I'll see you again soon.